What's going on, everybody? This year, man, once again, Dr. John C. Turner, aka the Professor JT, Dr. JT, and welcome to DOCTORTHON as we have our amazing afternoon to evening session here. And I'm telling you, I got some heavy hitters that are on right now. If you're still tuning in with us, I'm already going to tell you right now, the first 4 sessions were incredible, absolutely incredible. So much feedback, so many people tapping in. And we got another great session for you right now for all the doctors, all the people that want to become doctors, and how you get your brands, your books, your businesses, and get those speaking engagements off the ground. So without further ado, we are ladies first, respectable institution and publication podcast here. So we're going to start with Dr. Janier Hankerson. Welcome to the Doc Chat and DOCTORTHON. We appreciate you for tuning in. Tell the folks a little about yourself.
Hi, my name's Dr. Janier Hankerson. Thanks for having me on. I earned my doctorate in education in 2021 from Drexel University. My focus was human resource development. My dissertation, I did research on how teachers can use stand-up and improv in the classroom to increase student engagement.
Absolutely love it. We appreciate you coming on today. And our good friend, Dr. V. Boykin, she is back in the mix. And I'm telling you, she going to cover some fire today. You better get ready. Dr. Boykin, welcome back to the Doc Chat. I truly hope the hubby and the son is doing well out there in Arizona. We're so proud that you're back. Let the folks know a little bit about yourself. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. You said ladies first. I was like, where's Latifah? LATIFA Command. Where is she? Where is she? It is great to be here. My doctorate, my dissertation was focused on the social support systems that would allow women in tech to obtain and retain senior leadership positions. And by that, I actually meant all women, not just the United States majority women, the global majority, so BIPOC women. So that's what I focused on. As a woman in tech, there are just so many barriers. But the crux of it was, instead of running between meetings to do laundry and dishes and vacuum, companies should be providing that support via stipends and benefits, because the last thing we need is another treadmill, right? Mm-hmm. Right. So there you have it.
We absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And on the road again, my good friend, Dr. Dennis Whitfield, aka Dr. Whitty. Welcome to the Doc Chat. Let the folks know a little bit about yourself. We appreciate you for being on. Once again, my brother. He's on mute here. We got to get him
a mute button.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. I apologize.
All good.
All right. So glad to be here. First of all, I'm Dr. Whitty. I did my research on cultural humility with the intention to lead, or cultural humility as a predictor of an intention to lead, modified by authentic leadership. So basically the study was about would an employee stay or leave their organization if they had more culturally humble leaders. So that's what my research focused on. And I did my studies at Morgan University. That's where I obtained my PhD.
Love it. We love it. We appreciate you, Dr. Woody. We appreciate you. And since we got you here, we're going to let you go first a little bit. Tell folks what it meant for you to get your doctorate degree and how has it helped you as you launch the amazing Dr. Woody podcast and all the work that you've been doing.
Well, it meant everything for me to get it. First of all, I am the first one in my immediate family to graduate college and to get a PhD. So it meant everything to me. And not only that, but just because I definitely want to be inspirational to other people that's pursuing their education as well. So I'm always of the belief that if I can do it, somebody may be watching me and also believe that they can do it as well. So that's why it was important for me to complete the study and not give up through all the different trials and tribulations that came while I was in the program. So, and having it has opened up a lot of different doors and opportunities that I might not have been, able to pursue or benefit from had I not gone that far. So I'm really thankful for it, and it's really been a journey, and it's enlightening as well. And so what I do now with that is I help other doctoral students get through their program. I'm a part of a dissertation collective that meet every Sunday, so I get to help other doctoral students as well.
Love that. We love that. And Dr. Hankerson, the work that you did with your dissertation, you have truly started to turn it into a great brand for yourself. So tell us about how meaningful it was for you to get your doctorate degree and how it's really helped shape your business and brand and the work that you're doing.
Well, it was meaningful for me because, it was there were many hurdles to get through to actually finish. And I almost dropped out during the pandemic because the world was ending and stuff. But I already had a bunch of business cards made up, so I kept going. But I actually got to use my research that I did for my dissertation as I was doing it and doing the research. I thought it's like, I should teach this to teachers so they can have this information. So with that, the research information that I gathered, I created a professional development course, and then I got it approved by the Pennsylvania Department of Education so that it qualifies for Act 48 credits. So I would say that finishing the doctorate, specifically the dissertation part, really helped, shape everything with my business and what I'm doing.
Love that. Love that. And Dr. V, getting yours, of course, with your incredible overcoming story of so much and continuing to push out great work. What did it mean for you to get that doctorate, and how has it shaped the work that you are doing with your brand and your book and even your speaking engagements and the work you're doing?
Well, since you asked, it means they don't call me stripper or felon or single mom or food stamp recipient. They call me doctor. So let's start there. That makes a difference. It also makes a difference because when people talk about their struggles, I'm not talking to them theoretically, and they're not talking to me theoretically. We're talking about what actually is going on. And it is a clear indication that there's a path forward. It's allowed me, including my dissertation, to publish my third work. So we have Fix Your Face and Watch Your Tone, Women Know What's Needed. So when they tell me to fix my face or watch my tone, I can tell them I don't have to because the doctor said so. It's allowed me to show up unapologetically disruptive in places that need it. It's allowed me to be even more effective in the organizations that I join, like the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. It's allowed me to take my earnings literally from $35,000 a year to very solidly in the six figures. And that type of generational wealth, that type of changing of the statistics, they don't talk a lot about the statistics of people that go from felony to six figures with 4 degrees. So it allows me to open up that conversation and dialogue. And they have to call me doctor.
That's right. Put some respect on our name, folks. We appreciate the folks tuning in. If you have interest in writing a book or starting a podcast or getting on that speaker train and become a speaker as you're looking to become a doctor and become a doctor, definitely make sure you hit us in the comments. We thank you for the folks tuning on LinkedIn and YouTube, as this is DOCTORTHON, and we are excited to have Dr. Hankerson, Dr. Boykin, and Dr. Woody that are here with us on today. So Dr. Woody, you have launched successfully the Dr. Woody podcast. Tell us about that and the other works that you are doing as you are now a doctor.
So the podcast is Dr. Woody Today. It's been fun. It's been interesting. I'm in season 2 right now. I'm actually about to close out season 2 in the month of September. So the platform is basically a platform for empowerment and inspiration. We choose different topics. Right now, we mainly focusing on leadership and mental health. So those are the 2 topics that we generate discussion with various different guests from various different backgrounds. So as a matter of fact, I have a couple of episodes coming up with a mental health professional, and then also another podcast creator, podcast and content creator. So the podcast has been very interesting. It's been very challenging, and it is a lot of work, but the rewards that come from it when you reach your intended audience. That's what it's all about. So I'm thankful that I started it because it's one of those things where you think you gotta wait for the perfect time, but nobody knows when that is. So I just said, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And ever since I did it, I hooked up with Dr. Professor JT, and everything just been a smooth sailing.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah, and I am definitely proud of you. He touched base with me before
Also,
he launched it. Oh yeah, and I mean he's doing a phenomenal job, and I mean he's getting some heavy hitters on that podcast. So definitely, folks, make sure you check it out on YouTube for sure. Definitely for sure. And Dr. Hankerson, as you're looking at the comedy work you're doing, you got an upcoming event. Tell us about some of your successful events and some of the success that's coming to you since you are starting to launch your brand and business that you're doing.
Well, some of the events that I do, I forgot to mention I do stand-up and improv. That's where the research came from. Because while I was in school, I was also doing stand-up at least once a week, doing shows, stuff like that. So
wow. Okay.
That's where most of my speaking engagements come from, is from open mics and doing comedy shows. But I have a networking event coming up that I'm doing. So when I first started to launch my business and get into the networking circle in my area, I went to a networking event and I got there and it was all, everyone was talking to someone, everyone knew everyone. Like I didn't have anyone to talk to. It was weird. So I just left and I ran into a friend as I was leaving from high school and he's like, "Where are you going?" I said, "I don't know anyone in there." He's like, "Well, that's the point of the networking event." I said, "Yeah, but I can't do this." So I started my own networking event. And we use a lot of icebreakers to actually get to know people. I always tell people I have bags set up so that you can drop all of your business swag in there. And then we do icebreakers. And when you leave, you grab a bag so that you have a bag full of contact information of people that you actually, made genuine connections with. So I think that's the point, because when you go to regular networking events, it never really gets past like the business card part and this like the superficial part. But with the icebreakers, you get to actually know people and like really get to know the person that they are. So, and I think that comes in handy when you're dealing with business, because the point is for entrepreneurs to build relationships with each other, to build a network. So I think you would have more success referring someone, say you need a plumber or an electrician. If you already know someone who you actually got to spend time with and not just was handing a business card, I feel like that opens up your network more. So I think those are events that, one of my successful events that I've had.
I love that. I love it. And those are things we want folks to know, that when you get your doctorate degree, just as when you're completing your doctorate degree, it's to fill a gap in research. Once you get it, now you can fill a gap in things that are happening that maybe, hey, I can do this better. Maybe I can take it to another level. And then you can put that doctor on there, just like Dr. V says, and it takes it to a whole nother level, man. I'm telling you. So Dr. V, let me go ahead and pull this up here because we want to make sure we talk a little bit about it.
It's not a picture, is it?
Show what you do here, because you got the website, you got the book, and I love how this breaks down author, speaker, your media. So tell us about now being a doctor and launching all of this, from the website to the book to the business. Tell us about what you're doing and how it's been so great lately.
Well, thank you. I think the thing that the people like to start a little bit ahead of where they need to be. And that foundation is, number one, whatever you're going to talk about and whatever you're going to do, it needs to be okay with you. It needs to be okay with your family, and it needs to be okay with your employer. So those are three big areas. My platform is very transparent, and I talk about it all. And in my new book that literally is just seeing the light, and it is actually available, Unapologetically Disruptive, Hard Lessons, Simple Truths, as well as Fix Your Face and Watch Your Tone. what I talk about has got to be okay with my family. It has got to be okay with me. And it needs to be okay with your employer, because what you say outside of work can impact your work. I'm very fortunate to be at Lyft Enablement, where I'm a vice president of disruptive innovation. Right there, that fits. But you want to have a robust website. You want to have pictures of your events. You want to list your events. You want to talk about your events. And you want to be very clear about what you are and what they can expect you to say. When that is not aligned, you're just spinning your wheels. And if you are truly transparent about what you do, it won't be hard to find media that you can add. It won't be as hard to find speaking engagements that don't cause you to panic, because you are exactly where you are, as cliche as that sounds.
We love it. Absolutely love it. And as you see here, this woman's doing the work, the speaking, the greeting, the book signings, and the love. Look at the love there, folks. I'll tell you, this
The privilege.
is absolutely epic. And we are so very proud of you. These are the things we want doctors to really understand, that once you get that doctorate degree, you can do these things and add tax to it. And we want you to be able to do that, because your name now is in the 2% of people that have doctorate degrees. And when you get these opportunities to, whether you're speaking on stages or doing book signings, whether you're making meetups happen, whether you're doing podcasts, when you put that doctor name on there, it's definitely going to be incredible. And so we are so proud of these great doctors for the work you are doing. And we're just getting started here, folks. Once again, this is Dr. Thon. I got Dr. Hankerson, Dr. Boykin, and Dr. Woody. And we are talking about books, brands, businesses, and speaking engagements for booking. Now, Dr. Woody, you talked about there's some struggles. Tell us a little bit about those struggles when it came to either launching your podcast or, you're looking at doing some stuff. What are some things that are become some hiccups?
All right, so first, just making sure that you do research on how to actually, get these things up and running.
Yep.
It's good to, like, for instance, I checked in with you when I saw your podcast, because I had been visiting your podcast every I think it was every Thursday.
That's right.
I believe. So first thing when I started, what came to mind was, oh, you know what? I don't know. Let me check in with Dr. Turner. And so you gave me a bit of information, and then I just took it and went from there. And I just, that was a foot in the door.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I thought of it, because if I didn't, I would have had no idea how to really go about creating a podcast. So first, just doing the research is first of all, and then also, time management, because you have other things you have to do. You have to go to work. You've got family. You've got things that you have to take care of. So you got to make sure all of that works out when you're creating. And so those are some of the different challenges that I had in my mind. And those were, we create limitations for ourselves. And those were the reasons why I had not started it, because I would always think of a different reason why I couldn't do it, until one day I just said, well, stop waiting for the perfect time, and I'm just going to launch it. And so I did that, and I haven't stopped doing it since.
That's right. That's right. Doing incredible work. And I can't thank him enough for just even giving me a bit of even credit for trying to help him out, because I still really didn't know what I was doing either. We were trying to figure out stuff. I had to come back and ask, man, how you do that on your podcast? I didn't even know. So he's doing some incredible work. And one of the big things I told him that I think is really, really important is make sure when you do something like a podcast that you realize something, that you realize that you want to be at a time where everybody knows you're coming on that time. And that was a big thing that people struggle with, that I'm starting to see, because they'll just pop up on LinkedIn. You're like, oh, you're live? Well, no, if nobody knows you're coming on live, how are they going to tune in? How are they going to know? And so that's what's gotten the Doc Chat, after more than about 50, 60 episodes, over 100,000 views. because folks know we come on at Thursday nights at 8 o'clock. Now, also, people know I only come on in the spring, in March, in April, going into May, after football season, because I know nobody's going to watch me at 8 o'clock on a Thursday in the fall. As you see, Dr. Thon today was in the morning, afternoon, early evening. Because why? A football game comes on tonight, the very first NFL game of the year, the Hall of Fame game. Now, nobody's probably really going to pay attention who wins or lose. It's just football, but it's on. But when it's on, I know nobody's watching. So those are important little tips and tricks that you should know. When you put yourself out there, know the best times to put yourself out there. Another thing I would say real quick too, when you start to put out your particular post, especially on LinkedIn and different websites, learn the websites to know when the best times to do that so you can get the most traction. That's a big thing too, because if you're putting sometimes at 6 in the morning, I've seen people put posts on 11 at night. I'm like, nobody's looking at this. Like, nobody's seeing it. Great stuff. Get your engagement up, get your followers up, but then that's how you build your brand as well. So Dr. Hengerson, what were some struggles you've kind of ran into? You're launching things, trying to get things off the ground. What are some things that gave you kind of like, oh man, this was trial and error, and then gave you an aha moment moving forward?
Well, I can say one of the struggles that I had is I do trivia because I like to combine comedy and education. So I get to use the trivia to, talk about stuff that I find interesting, but also put some education stuff in there also. So, for example, I did a 90s hip hop trivia, and it took for me to do that to realize that I'm very East Coast based with my 90s hip hop that I like.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized the trivia is not for me, it's for everyone else. So I had to do a lot of research on, it was like, I like down South rap, but I had to do more research on that, more research on West Coast conscious rap. I had to do research to make sure I implemented all 5 elements of hip hop and not just talk about my favorite, Wu-Tang, Tribe Called Quest all day, because nobody wants to do that the whole time. So that was one of the things that I had to work on, was like branching outside of myself and doing stuff that customers and clients would like. Another struggle would be just gathering engagement, because I would spend all this time doing the trivia and then it'd be really hard to get people to actually do it. So that's the part. It's just like getting people to actually close the deal. Like I can get the likes and, maybe the follows, but to actually log on and do the trivia, that's the part where it's like, I need people to just take that extra step. So that's a struggle.
Yeah. And I mean, anybody that's ever put on an event, you know what it is to watch that door and hope people come through that door. And you're just like, please let people come, please. And I'm not big on the influencers who don't influence anything and the creators who don't create anything, because funny enough, I guess there was some big influencer, and I seen a video on TikTok. She was sitting at a table with her security and nobody showed up to meet her. I guess she was doing like some meet and greet. And it was just kind of like, look, and Dr. Hengerson's right. You could put all that effort into it. Like she said, you could put those Facebook posts where it's event posts, and people will like it. And I remember a young lady in college, she had an event and 100 people liked it. She was like, all these people are coming, all these people. 3 people showed up. 3. Because it's the difference between getting those likes, getting that attention, but people actually got to come. So it's tough. You don't know what makes people come. Just like when you post something online, you don't know what makes stuff go viral. So it's stuff like that you're always really curious about, but you try to dig different practices. And Dr. Hengerson said the best word at research. Dr. Whitty said the best thing, research. You got to research what's being done and what's the best practices for you to get people there, for sure. Now, Dr. Boynton, as you're hitting the stages and got the book, first tell us a little bit about the book. You have launched the exclusive of telling us about this new book. And let me make sure you know I always got a picture somewhere. Hold on. Make sure.
It's interesting about okay. So this is, I love this cover. I also will say, what was really important for me when building my brand is being very clear about what I will talk about, what I won't talk about, and what my guardrails were. And those shift and change. For example, my first book, I did not put my picture on the cover. I felt that my standard of beauty was way too colonial, and I didn't like the message that it would send. It took a year for me to say, okay, maybe it's okay. Especially because that book said, fix your face. And like, my face should not be what you're ascribing to, right? That's a colonialist mindset. I'm saying it from my position of privilege, right? I think there are some things that you're going to say and put out into the world that you just need to say, and they're important to you. And you don't care if you get the clicks, but you hope that you will. And there's other things that you say that are kind of off the cuff that you're putting out there into the world, and people latch on and they love it. There is a detachment from what you share to how people receive it. I think that's necessary for good mental health. In this book, I go into detail about what it was like in prison and the inhumane treatment, what it was like as a stripper and why strippers are your best salespeople you could ever hire, what it was like when you are blocked from exiting a room because there is a man in front of you that has been enabled through his fraternity to regularly abuse women. This book is heavy. It's also factual. And so it is very important because there are topics I don't speak out about that I've gotten slammed on many platforms. I saw y'all on Blind. There's some things I don't talk about. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that I do, and it's very important to be very clear. But this book is truly the hard lessons and simple truths that I want to share, because the only reason it makes sense to go through the struggle of life, of education, of being part of that 2%, or being part of the fastest growing and most educated class of people we have in the United States, which would be Black women, is if you share that. And so this is my share. This is my, gosh, there's been some wrong things that I've done and things I do differently, but it makes it okay if I share it. So as you build your brand, as you step out on a stage, you need to know what you're okay with saying. You need to know what you're not okay with saying. You need to understand where your margins are. And you better have that apology ready for when you pass your margins, because I am constantly, that's the boundary. Here's my foot, not just my toe. So I think that's really important. But I'm very connected to this book, and it was really hard to write. So I really hope that it is helpful.
We love that. We love that. And we have to show as well, we are proud of all of the Doc Chat authors. We are so very proud of every one of them that has written a book, have a book on the way, and the work that they all have been doing has just been exceptional. And
Dr. Turner?
Yep.
I need to tell one truth.
Go ahead.
One truth. I want everyone to know you're not going to get rich from your book. At all. You ain't making no money. It's your calling card. It's your proud. It's your things you're proud of. It is your contribution to the world. You will not make money on your book. If I know you personally and you've been to my house, you ain't making money on your book. It's not happening.
Yeah. It's probably not going to be a New York bestseller. I mean, it might hit that Amazon new release bestseller. I mean, it's a tough thing when it comes to books, and I appreciate you saying that, because I don't think people realize that it takes a lot to write it, but it takes even more to market it. And does it hit the right market? And you're really asking the question, who's going to want to read it? And we have to be fair. A lot of people don't read books like that no more. If you could turn it into an audio book, that could be a big help, a really, really big help too. So those are just some big tricks of the trade, but we are so proud of our authors and the work that they've done, because they are doing phenomenal work. Now, folks, we're about halfway through here of our amazing conversation on brands, books, bookings, and businesses. We got Dr. Whitty, Dr. Boynton, and Dr. Hankerson, and we appreciate their contributions so much. Now, Dr. Whitty, as we're moving forward, it's a brand new doctor, just became a doctor. They're like, man, I want to start doing the stuff you're doing. What would you tell them when it comes to the work that you're doing outside of your full-time job and making a brand and business and doing those types of things?
First, I would tell them to make sure that it's what they want to do. So many times we have a lot of different things that we want to do, aspire to do, but again, we don't do the research, and then we jump out there, and a lot of people they jump out in the water and it's too deep, and then the next thing you know, you don't see them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, when I first started my podcast, I had invited a guest who also has a podcast. And really, that was like the first time anybody turned me down. But the reason why he turned me down is because he said he had been on so many podcasts that when he checks back, the podcast don't even exist anymore. So he said he wanted to see, if I was going to be still around, after a year or 2 years or whatever, and then maybe I invite him again, he'll come on the show. So, yeah, I took that and said, okay, I get it. I didn't like it, but I got it.
That's right.
But yeah, I would tell them that first, and this tell them to remove the limitations, because, like I said, we put limitations on ourselves. Like some people say, the sky is the limit, but I say the sky is not the limit unless that's where you plan on stopping. So I would say make sure you know that it's what you want to do, because once you get in and you start to see that you might be up all night creating content, or that to edit that video might take you 3 or 4 hours, or you got to make phone calls, shoot emails, everything. You have to do it, start out doing it yourself, because you don't have a team. So it's a lot of work. So you got to make sure that it's what you want to do. And once you start, don't stop, because the gift is in you for a reason. And you didn't become inspired or aspired to do something just because you thought it up. It's the reason why it happened. It's people out there that you are meant to affect and inspire and to help them achieve. So that's the advice that I would give.
Okay. He's not lying about the statistics. It's about 70%, 75% of podcasts, they don't make it past pretty much their first season. Like, that's it. And I mean, dang, dude didn't have to do you like that though. But I mean, I get it, because those are opportunities where people come in, they want to expand themselves as well. But then if the podcast is gone, you can't share it anymore. Actually, the Doc Chat is my 4th iteration of a podcast. And so it is a true thing that sometimes that first one ain't going to work, the second one, or even the third. And sometimes you just got to say, okay, I like what Dr. Woody said, kind of know what you do, because when you can do what you love to do and get a chance to talk about it, it's not even work anymore. Like, the Doc Chat has become so fun. I mean, we'll get through a whole hour of conversation and be like, well, dang, we could have did a whole another hour, because the stuff is so rich. It's good. So always good stuff. Always definitely good stuff. And so, Dr. Hankerson, kind of as you're looking, what would you tell that new doctor about launching their brand, launching their work? And I think I can get yours. I am proud of you, because I think you did what a lot of people don't do and created a space on LinkedIn, which I think is dope. And so kind of tell us about your space, and what would you tell these new people?
Well, I created the LinkedIn page. I have business pages set up on all my social medias to separate myself from the business, and to the business, so it can highlight more of my events and my special posts that I put on there. So I think that comes in handy a lot, especially with marketing materials. So I can just put the actual business name on there. And one piece of advice I would give is to just be consistent. Even if you don't feel like making that post or making that flyer, and if you feel like no one's watching, like, there's always someone who's paying attention and who's watching. So the story Dr. Woody said about being turned down for the podcast, like I have the opposite thinking, because I think every opportunity is an opportunity to reach at least one person. I feel like if you can reach at least one person, then I'm good for the day.
I love
I
that.
mean, it's hard to like constantly be on and networking and getting to know people and stuff. So I feel like just if you can reach one person a day or an event, then I feel like it's a successful event. So I would say just keep being consistent. Just keep doing what you're doing. You never know when you're going to get that yes. And you want to be able to show you have a history of being consistent. So if someone, if he was going on the podcast and had doubts or questions about it, you know, he would be able to pull up your social media and say like, oh, okay, so this person is consistent. They do post regularly. They have regular engagement. You know, I don't feel like they're gonna leave anytime soon. So I feel like just being consistent will go a long way.
We love that. We love that. And make sure we get this put up, because I'd be remiss if I didn't pull up my good brother, Dr. Woody, and the good work he's doing. So he does have an amazing podcast himself and an amazing website. Wow. And so the graphics on these, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit jealous of myself. This is dope stuff. This is amazing stuff. And these are the things that draw people in. They make people want to check your conversation out, because you're putting in the work to get people's voices heard. And when you have eye-catching graphics like these, that'll make people say, hey, I want to hear what that conversation is about. I really want to know what is going on. And it means so much that Dr. Woody has tapped so many great people. She looks familiar right there. And doing great things. And as you see, a lot of great doctors from the doc chat have jumped in on Dr. Woody's conversation. And we appreciate him so much for that, because it means so much. Definitely does. And so as we get to Dr. V, as you got stuff launched to the next level and it's doing incredible, what would you tell that doctor that's like, man, I want to be where you are. I want to be on those stages and writing books and all those different types of things. And what would you tell them to get them going?
Number one, do not pay to speak in any capacity.
Good.
Do not.
Yeah.
Do not pay to speak. The ones that reach out and it's not a speaking fee. It's just an intake fee. It's just a nomination fee. I'm a hard no. I'm a hard no. It's not an honorarium. Hard no. The answer is no. My name is no. Come on, Dr. Wood. The answer is no.
Yeah.
If you need to speak that desperately, go down to your church, go down to your Better Business Bureau. They have stages that are empty. You can say something, read the announcements, whatever it is. Do not pay to speak. The second thing I'm going to say is do not pay a lot to publish your book. Do not pay a lot to publish your book. I know people that have paid $30,000 to get their book off the ground. I'll take my $800 and off I go. Do not pay a lot to publish your book.
Yeah.
You don't need to. It gives you credibility. It is another form of a business card. You're not going to make money for it. Don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't do that. And I would respectfully say be willing to fail with people. Dr. Woody, when we get off here, give me the name of that person, because that's a podcast I won't do. I'm here to fail with you. I'm here to fail with you. I will go on any podcast. You hit me up and you are in India and I will never see it and it'll never make the time of day. And I recorded it. It never got published. It's still good practice for me.
That's right.
So I am there for it, because for me, I am here to add more to the good list than I've added to the not good list.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever forum, whatever function, whatever messaging, wherever that place is, that's where I want to be. And I can add to that good list. So for the just graduated doctor, all that stuff you wanted to put in your dissertation that you couldn't actually say, as my chair, my Black female chair said to me, Dr. Thompson, she said to me, this is where you get to say it. That is what this time post crossing that stage and getting that certificate is for. So all of the stuff that you couldn't put in, start saying that and have a good time doing it.
Indeed. And Dr. Hankerson, Dr. Woody, and Dr. Boykin, as we're here on the doc chat. Of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't hold up the Dr. Talker book. And I'm telling you right now, this costs about $5,000. But
I'm sorry.
It's an anthology.
Okay,
so
then. Okay.
Everybody paid a piece. So that's why. And I work with a Black woman who was our amazing publisher. So I'm giving back to my people. So it was a great opportunity. Now, I have had all kind of people say, sir, when is number 2 coming out? It probably won't anytime soon. Because let me tell you, working with people, it's one thing when you do your own book, but it's another thing when you're working with other people. And I love the docs I work with, but I'm telling you, I was pulling teeth to get the money, to get the chapters, and all these different types of things. So it looks nice in theory. And I know Dr. Whitty can allude to it. Dr. Hankers, anybody that has a podcast or anything, to get the people sometimes to come on can be a challenge at times. Then let's talk about, I want to talk about something that Dr. Boynton about. When you are looking to do the public speaking, every opportunity that you don't got to pay for is a solid opportunity. And I would tell you probably one of the greatest opportunities, and I've spoken in front of every bit of 1,000 people, and I've spoken in front of one young man who just got released from prison. And they had asked me to come. I was supposed to speak to a room full of people, but only one young man came and showed up. And we were on like the 8th floor of a building, and we looked over downtown Indianapolis. And I stood that young man, I said, come over here with me. And I said, that's your city right there. You have got out of jail. Now it's your time to go make a difference. And that was probably one of my greatest speaking engagements. Like I said, I've spoken in front of thousands of people. That was probably one of my greatest speaking engagements because I was able to know I touched that young man in a way that was impactful. Because everybody want to be on these stages, but I've seen people sleep. I've seen people, I mean, they looking like they booing at you, they mad, but so you just want somebody to get it. So be impactful with what you say. Definitely be impactful for it. I'm telling you, it's going to make a huge difference. So Dr. Whitty, as we're looking to kind of wrap up here, tell me right now some things that you know that you are saying that people need to know this if they're going to be effective as doctors and launching businesses and brands and books and all those things. They should know this. But first, let people know where they can find you at, find your website, podcast, and how people can connect with you. Oh, I think he froze. He might be in hold on. I'm on mute there. Yep, still on mute there. Oh, hold on, you still on mute. All right, there you go. Yep, you're good.
All right.
It might be in a.
I can jump in if he needs to drive a little further down the road.
Yeah, probably need to just a little bit. All right, go ahead, Dr. Boynton. We'll get Dr. Whitty here in a minute. Go ahead.
Sure. I think the one thing that was really important for me to understand and know was I'm not a person that's motivated by dreams. I'm a person that's motivated by nightmares. So I decided I was going to talk about the things that kept me up at night, the injustices in the workplace, the marginalization of all communities that are not considered the norm, telling the truth about the games they play in the workplace. I was going to talk about that and how that plays out in your professional life. So get real clear on who you are as your doctor title, which may be different from your personal title, and that's cool. And that's what drives me. That's what keeps the consistency. And that's what all of my brand cohesiveness is around. So drvboykin.com, Dr. V. Boykin at YouTube, Dr. V. Boykin on LinkedIn, and talking about the same thing, the nightmares, the Gulf of America is what I talk about.
I absolutely love it. That's Dr. V. Boykin, folks. And we appreciate her so very much. I'm telling you, she always bring the fire when she come out here. And she's welcome anytime because we love fire starters on the Doc Chat. And I appreciate you being part of the first Dr.Thon. We appreciate you so much. And Dr. Hankerson, let us know where we can find you. Let us know where people can find your work. Touch base a little bit about the great event you got coming up once again. And we appreciate you for joining us here on DOCTORTHON. and the doc chat once again.
Okay. So I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook, Instagram, under Dr. J's Comedy Milieu. I also have, I forgot to say, I'm an accountant during the day. So I have my accounting business as well that I run, because comedy doesn't pay bills, but taxes do. So you can find both of those pages on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. And I do have an event coming up in September in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. If anyone's in the area, it's a networking event. Bring plenty of business swag with you to share with other people, and come ready to do some great icebreaker games. So, as soon as we get there, we're gonna get in a circle and start having some fun.
We love that. Absolutely love that. That is Dr. Janier Hankerson, folks, and we appreciate you so much once again being on the doc chat. We might have to do an episode where you kind of drop some jokes, man. We might need to get some of them jokes on here, you know what I'm saying? Because that's just a different aspect I've never heard, especially from a doctor. I know you start off with that one all the time. I know. So, I'm a doctor, so we will probably get a good kick out of that. And so just want to definitely say thank you, especially to the fact that both of you have reached out in incredible ways. And it means so much that you have, because it just shows, and I've seen your growth. I've seen both of your growth that has been just astronomical. It's been phenomenal. And I'm very proud of you both for sure.
Hey, Dr. Turner, make sure people aren't out there spending thousands of dollars on their content before they're making any dollars. Not that I didn't spend thousands of dollars a month for a long amount of months with like 2 views. It's cool. The most highly rated LinkedIn post I ever did was me when I was sick with no makeup, standing in my kitchen holding a bunch of oranges, saying I need to get better.
Yeah. You never know what's going to be it. Never know, but it's post your content. And a lot of times try to figure that stuff out yourself. See if you could do it yourself first, and then, allow somebody, because these people are just really out to make money. They don't care what your stuff does, but you do. So if you can handle it yourself, then it really feels like it sticks out a lot better. It definitely does. So that's a phenomenal point, Dr. Poinka. I appreciate that. All right, Dr. Woody, I think you up the road a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your work, where you are, where people can find you, and kind of a final tip for the conversation.
I hope you can hear me. If not, you might have to tell people where they can find me. But Dr. V, I hope you're available to open up season 3 of Dr. V today. I want to talk about those books of yours. So what I would tell people, and just based off of what Dr. V just said, people aren't looking for you to be perfect. They are looking for you to be authentic. So, I believe the reason why that view that she just talked about is because she was just being Dr. V. Didn't care about, what she had on, what she looked like. She came from an authentic place that people could relate to. And so they tuned in to get what they came to get. So thank you for that. That's what I would tell people. Don't worry about being perfect. Be authentic in your content. Be intentional. And don't pay attention to who's liking your. I mean, yeah, you can pay attention to it, but don't base everything off of who's liking your content, because like you said earlier, just because somebody likes your content doesn't mean they're going to actually show up for you. So that's what I would say. But I can be found on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, X. I want to say those are it. And keep your platforms consistent, like Dr. V said. Every place you look for her is Dr. V. Don't have one place saying Dr. V and then the next one saying Valerie. Just keep it all the same. That way people know exactly how to find you. That was one of the things, that was one of the first pieces of advice that I had. Just put everything Dr. Woody. That way it can be found. Yeah. So my website is drwoody.org. So you can learn more about me there. You can also find me on LinkedIn, like I said. Dr. Woody Today airs on Monday, every other Monday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So be on the lookout for the next episode is for August. And then every other week after that, my last show airs on the 29th of September, the day before my birthday. So I'm looking
Hey,
forward to that episode as well.
we love that. We love that. That is Dr. Dennis Whitfield, folks, and we appreciate that. And so we got a couple more minutes. I want to give Dr. Hankerson just some time. Any last tips you would give somebody who's interested in launching their brand? And once again, we appreciate you for being with us for Dr. Thon today.
Yeah, again, I would say just be consistent. Find something that you actually like doing, because you will be spending a lot of time doing it outside of regular work, just to get everything started. I would also say find a good accountant if you need one. I know one.
I love the plug. I love it.
And also, I have something for people who want to support people who, started their own business and doctors and stuff. I would say if you like something, if you like what your friend is doing or your coworker is doing, like it out loud. Like if you see a post that they did and you really like it, it's nice of you to call them and say, hey, I like that post, but it'd be better if you would actually like it on the social media page it was posted on, or share it on the social media page. If you like something, then like actually show up for it, because a lot of places, I've had events where, like you said, people like it, but they don't show up. And if people don't actually show up, like the venue will cancel it. So that's some advice I would give. If you like what someone is doing, then actually like it out loud and just show up for it.
I like that. I like that. That's a good tip there. Good tip. And Dr. V. Boykin, got a couple more minutes here. Any final tips that you would like to give? Final words?
Yeah. Arlen Hamilton says, be who you are so people can find you when they're looking for you. Figure out who you are before you put yourself out there. What do you look like? What do you feel like? What is your color palette? What do you dress like? Who are you? What do you say? What do you not say? What are your guardrails? Just get clear about it, because there's nothing worse than putting something out that isn't you. It feels icky and you'll beat yourself up for it over and over again. So get clear. I'm lucky. I'm in my 50s. I know who I am, good, bad, and indifferent. So that's who you get. But figure that out and spend some time figuring that out. Spend some time. You deserve to figure out who you are before you let this world come in and start picking you apart. And if you are still in process of getting your doctorate, do it. Do it. Make them call you doctor. Your name is not Toby.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Flat out true. Flat out true. Well, we're going to bring in Dr. Vic here. She's going to be helping us transition to the next wonderful conversation. Dr. Vic, how are you?
Well, how are you?
Doing well, doing well. We're in our transition phase to our next episode. We're going to be talking about DEI here. And you have a phenomenal podcast. I want to give you a couple seconds to talk about it and what you're doing. Go ahead and let
How do I get on this podcast? How do I get on this podcast?
Come on. Message me in the chat. Let's do it. My podcast is called Nicole D. Vic Live. My bad. It is not a creative name. It is what it is. And my podcast focuses on public health and social justice issues in the Black community, because, of course, I am Black. So, therefore, that's what we talk about. And some months I'm talking about friendship. Some months I'm talking about, DEI. It just really depends on where things lead. Like next week, I hope to bring someone on, maybe someone I'm realizing, wait a minute, I'm getting older. I'm like, how did that happen? But how do I prepare? How do we prepare ourselves for aging in place? How do we make sure all our affairs are in order in case there's a situation where we can't speak for ourselves? So I want to educate folks, inform folks, and really just get into the nitty gritty of some of the things that are really, really important for us, because the cavalry ain't coming. We got to save ourselves.
That is the flat out truth. That is definitely the truth. We appreciate you. We appreciate that. And Dr. Vic's about to roll us into our DEI conversation. And to Dr. Hankerson, Dr. Boykin, and Dr. Woody, we want to say thank y'all so much for your incredible words, incredible insights, and the amazing things you gave for everybody here at Dr. Thon. Thank y'all so very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
See you soon.
All right. Y'all take care. Y'all take care. All right. And make sure we get this here. Dr. Vic.
Hey.
I am so happy you was able to join us. We're waiting on a couple more great doctors to join us in this powerful conversation because the cavalry, they may not be coming to save us, but they definitely are out there doing some stuff that I know we need to talk about. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your name, where you got your doctorate, and what was your dissertation research?
All right. So my name is Nicole D. Vic. I'm like, hello. Dr. Nicole D. Vic. In Los Angeles, California. My background, I will say, is in public health. I have over 20 years of experience in public health. And I have my doctorate degree. Hold on. I have my diploma right here. Hold on. Hey.
Look at that. Yeah.
Doctorate degree is from the University of Southern California.
Let's see.
It's a Doctor of Education in Organizational Change and Leadership. And someone might say, well, Nicole, if you have a public health background, why didn't you get a doctorate in public health? Listen, I have a master's degree in public health, and I think 20 plus years of public health work, I think I can leave public health alone. We can go about something else. And I wanted to look at public health from an organizational structure. I wanted to kind of do that bird's eye view, like how can we shift our public health systems? Because as you know, all of our systems are grounded and founded in white supremacy culture. How do we fix that?
Goodness gracious.
How?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm all about.
Yeah, it's because it's interesting you say that, and the groundedness in the systems of a world that were created for one group to prosper and another group to not. Until that's how we get to what was considered or created as DEI, which people don't realize goes through different facets of life, where it went from civil rights to multiculturalism to we had a snippet of critical race theory, and boom, now we've got put into this DEI bubble. And as we're looking at DEI, and I sent a memo, and did you get a chance to look at the memo as far as what dropped yesterday?
I didn't see it. What was it about? And I'm sure it was some shenanigans.
I am glad you asked, because let me go ahead and get it pulled up. So what a lot of people might not know, let me see if this pulls up right. All right. And let me zoom in a little bit.
Mm-hmm. My eyes are, they're not good. No more. Part of that aging. I'm like, no. What's going on? Hello?
Hot off the press, guidelines for federal funding regarding unlawful, which they are considered DEI, discrimination. This is a 9-page memo. It came from the Attorney General that discusses what they claim is DEI is unlawful if you are getting and receiving any kind of federal funding. Okay. What makes this so dangerous is the fact that it is highly conservative, very much so, to the fact that something less than a year ago that was so celebrated, so, I mean, just gathered in how this means so much, because it gives people opportunities that haven't had opportunities, now as being slaughtered by a new regime of federal government individuals.
It's so crazy. You know, have you ever, Dr. Turner, have you ever had a computer or your phone or something act funny, and you call tech support and they do a hard reset, like they reset it to factory settings and like everything goes back to the way it was, and then you can kind of start over? So I have been characterizing everything that is happening right now in all of our systems from a federal down as a hard reset. So when people are surprised, oh my gosh, they're taking these things away, we are literally going back to how this country was created. And I just told you how it was on a system of white supremacy culture. If that's how everything is built, this should not surprise anybody. Correct. Now, right. The problem is, how do we, well, I have two trains of thought. So you can say this is horrible, this is bad, we're going down a bad road, this is horrible, and run around in a circle and be upset. Or as I'm starting to try to think of it, I'm like, is this an opportunity to rebuild? Because I don't know if you ever heard this before, and you might have. Oh my gosh, we got to burn these systems down. We got to burn them down. We can't fix them. We have to burn them down, right? Yeah. I've heard people say that. Yeah. And I actually kind of feel like, yeah, they're that bad, right? You kind of have to start over. Now, I always would say, but what does that look like? And I couldn't really fathom it. And I'm like, is this the burning down? Is this the creating, like just putting it all into rubble and then now we can rebuild? I don't know. I don't know what that looks like, but I will say, like I said, this is a hard reset. If you understand how our public health systems, for example, were built in this country to exclude Black people, yep. to exclude people of color, to marginalize them and move them out of town, you go over there. This is actually literally going back in time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It is devastating because even if you look at here, examples of unlawful practice, nothing is just by happenstance, folks. Look at the example that they use. A university DEI program established a scholarship fund exclusively for students of specific racial group. Example, Black Student Excellence Scholarship. Come on now. Of all things you could have put in here.
As an example, they put that.
That's what they put. What else they have? Preferential hire promotion practices, access to facility or resources based on race and ethnicity. A university's DEI initiative designates a safe space or a lounge exclusively for students of a specific race or ethnic group.
Let's talk about safe spaces for a second. I'm glad you stopped right there because I forgot to tell you what my dissertation was on. My dissertation was on the psychological safety of Black local health department employees in the United States. I wanted to look at the intersection between institutional racism, remember, this is the foundation of our country, and the psychological safety of folks that are doing some of the most hard work, the hardest work, the honorable work in this country, keeping our population safe. And one of the things that the folks that I interviewed talked about was the need for safe spaces. And you're telling me now that the federal government says you can't have a safe space. You can't have psychological safety in your workspace in the example that I'm giving you. It's like, what does that mean to marginalized and minoritized people in these spaces who already feel unsafe?
That's right. That's right. And so you're talking about, as we looked at those kind of first couple examples, and let me make sure I go over one more time. So the race-based scholarships that students were banking on last year, or programs that were supportive, gone. Preferential hiring or promotion. The Black, Latino individuals that are brought in a lot of times to help individuals at either institutions or corporations, and those are gone. The facilities are research-based. So your cultural centers on your campuses that were safe spaces for students of color, those are gone. These are things that are so asinine right now, because here's the biggest thing I want to throw this to Dr. Vic. What do they do? What do they do if you pulled all their resources, all their funding, and all their supports? What options do they have?
Yeah. And I think that the scary part is it takes away so much of that opportunity, like you said, that a lot of our students and our young people in our workforce relies on, not to get ahead, right? Because you still have to be qualified. I didn't get into USC because I wasn't qualified. You still got to earn it. You still got to have the grades. Right. But the thing that would be helpful to you is gone. And I think what's going to happen, I think what happened for us as a Black community, we forgot the key things that kept us strong. And we got to go back and we got to remember, we got to talk to our aunties, our elders that remember when we didn't have any of that in the first place and we had to rely on each other and create our own. Now it's hard to do, but right now I feel like that's the only thing that we can do. And I think that we need to just remember how to do that, because that's what's going to make the difference. The safe space, we're going to have to create our own safe space.
Yeah.
There's scholarships we're going to have to do like we did, create our own, until we can figure this out, because this is not a 4-year, it'll be gone in 4 years. A lot of the damage, I've been thinking about this, a lot of the things that have been undone just in this last however many months will probably take decades, take generations to rebuild. Think about our public health system. You have fired people from the CDC and all these other federal agencies that provide so much to the public health infrastructure. That's not something that you can just snap your fingers at the end of 4 years and just reverse. That's going to be so many years of trying to rebuild. And again, it could be our chance to build it the right way, but it's still going to take time. So there's this weird space that we're in that I'm like, oh my goodness, where are we going? What are we doing?
Yeah, and we appreciate Dr. Diana for jumping in. She was supposed to be on a call with us, but she wanted to make sure she let Dr. Nicole know, hey, she's on point right now, on point. And we want to continue on with the conversation. As this is Dr. Thon, we are wrapping up our incredible day that we've had, and we got Dr. Nicole Vick, and she is here talking about what happened to DEI. And I want to jump into, how did we get to DEI in the first place? I mean, I'm still trying to figure out where it came from, because like I said, we went from civil rights to multiculturalism to a snippet of critical race theory, and then we jump into this DEI. But all of it seems like boxes. So how did we get in these boxes, and how do we get ourselves out of these boxes?
I think you're right. I think it was just a progression of ideas and thoughts. I mean, I use critical race theory in my dissertation, and I know I'm in a group of folks on Facebook that are getting their doctorates, and I heard that some people at their schools were told not to focus on critical race theory because it's controversial. And I'm like, baby, I wish somebody would have told me that I couldn't. Excuse me? No. But I think it's just been a way for us social justice folks to try to make stuff make sense. I think about affirmative action. There's always been sort of this push. How do we make sure that our systems are inclusive? How do we make sure our societies are just and equitable? So to your point, you talked about civil rights, multiculturalism. It's sort of just been this progression. I think what has happened is we have not figured out the language, how to talk to people about the stuff that we're doing so that it makes sense to them. So then it becomes easy to start saying woke is bad, because we don't explain very well what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we're doing good stuff. DEI is not a bad thing. It was helping women, not just Black women either. So it was like, it was actually
utilizing it more. Everybody, they don't tell the story.
They was getting hired to do all the DEI training, and the DEI offices, they were the ones that were benefiting. But then it's like you literally cut your own, self off. It's just so weird. And I think, again, we have an image problem. We have a public relations problem. We don't speak about the work in a way that resonates with enough people. And so therefore it becomes this sort of segmented, it's for those people over there, because, DEI became the, pseudonym for Black. That's what people thought DEI was. And it's like, but it's not. It's really not. It's people with disabilities. It's LGBT. It's everybody. But we didn't do a good job. So I'm going to say we messed up on that, where we didn't collectively think about the language and how we would communicate what we were doing to the masses. And now it has been turned around to be a bad thing when it's actually not a bad thing at all.
Indeed. And we hurt ourselves so much with these things, because exactly like civil rights, exactly like multiculturalism, Black people foot to work. Then Black people start getting money. That's when everybody wanted to jump on the train, like, oh, I'm multicultural. I'm a part of DEI. Civil rights for LGBTQ, for Asians, for Latinos, that came from us. That came from the work we did. And so are we going to see, Dr. Vic, another version of this maybe one day? Because it seems like it just keeps reshaping itself. Or do Black people finally be like, enough? We're Black. We're going to do what we got to do for us and us only, because everybody keeps trying to get a piece of the pie once we make it.
Right. Well, I think it's a yes and no. Yes, we will see. There will be version 2.0 of something, right? There will be something that will come up. It might be called something else at some point. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. We have to continue to push for equity. We have to continue to push for social justice. We have to. We cannot allow for people to be minoritized and marginalized. This is not right. It's not. How can we have a society where some people are deemed less valuable than others? We just can't. But I will say, to your point, I think Black folk have decided to some degree, like, you know what? We keep yelling and trying to tell y'all and nobody listening. And so, you know what? That's all right. Y'all got it. I think that's literally, we're like, y'all got it. And so we'll see what that means, though, because I don't know. But I have felt that sentiment across the board, where we've literally tried to steer the ship in a way that would be equitable, and folks are like, no. And it's like, okay, well, I guess y'all got to figure it out. We just gonna sit over here and where them fans at? We boots on the ground, because this don't make no sense. It don't.
Jesus, if we hear that song,
well,
and that's another thing. And it's funny because I was talking to somebody about the song that everybody thinks Elvis sang, "You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog," which people don't realize a Black woman originally sung that song, and Elvis took it and made his own version of it. And so everybody thinks it's his. And so as we're looking at how they have taken so much from us as Black people, what have you seen that has been just mind blown? Whether if it's music or entertainment, or what have you seen that truly has been systemic, that now we are trying to make our own version, but they're trying to take our version and make it for themselves?
That's a good question. And I think what I'll say is, I feel like social media has been so helpful and so harmful in response to your question. Like, in some ways, we create everything, the culture, the vibe. People were attributing Ebonics to Gen Z, or they were calling it something else. And it's like, a lot of that language is our language. That's how we speak to each other. And people were misappropriating or wrongly attributing it to something else. And it's like, that's us. Dancing, the dance moves. Remember when TikTok was big with the little dancing, and then for a minute there was this very intentional sort of boycott, and everybody was like, where did all the culture go? Because Black folk was like, we not giving you this for free anymore. So I think it's just, how do we, I don't want to say capitalize, but maybe that is the word. How do we wrangle in our culture? Because again, we are such contributors to a lot of culture. You go around the world and you hear Michael Jackson in the karaoke place, and you're like, dang. And I've gone to a couple of countries in the world, and I'm like, I see us everywhere as far as our culture. And it's like, I wonder, do these people know where that came from? Or, you see the folks in what country is that? One of the Asian countries, and they get locks, and they make themselves they get afros, like literally like us everywhere, but the respect for us is not there. And it's really, really interesting. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I just feel like we have so much and have given so much. It's like we're stepchildren, right? You do so much, but then you're over there. They put you in the back, and it's like, wow. But if we weren't here, what would the world be like? Interesting. So
yeah, we definitely bring the culture in a way that truly is tried to be copied. And so I can't tell you how many white rappers there are right now, which is a huge oxymoron in itself. But you know, they feel like, hey, I can do that. And like you said about the braid, I remember when it was Kim Kardashian that came, her and her sisters with the corn, the braids, and all kind of stuff, like cultural appropriation. Like somebody say something, but to them, it's what the culture is, and they want to be a part of it, even though it's not their culture. You know, so you're exactly right about that.
And it's like at least gives respect to where it came from or understand where something comes from. Like that's not Gen Z slang. That's African American vernacular English or Ebonics. That's what that is. That's not this something else. Attribute it to where it comes from and understand where it comes from. Understand your history. Just get a good perspective. I was on Threads earlier and someone shared that folks, our cousins in the African diaspora hadn't understood or recognized that we had historically Black colleges and universities. And the person that posted said they had come across a YouTube video where they were very in awe of, I didn't know this about Black Americans. And so it's like, even that to me is something that we need to do more of. We need to share with our folks across the diaspora, have a culture share, because I think there's some diaspora wars and we get into that. But it's like, listen, we all came from the same place, more or less. And I think we would be so much more powerful if we were united. So
indeed,
something else to think about too.
Indeed. We're here with Dr. Nicole Vick. We're talking everything DEI, folks, and how it is just blown up across the whole nation. And I know your jam is public health.
Yes.
What have you seen, and how does it make it feel, especially being someone that's been in public health so long, that so much is changing so fast?
You know, I will say this. I don't know if anybody has ever heard this, but we're taught in public health that we are behind the scenes. And if we're doing our job well, you don't see us, right? We're about prevention of disease, promotion of health. Our focus is communities, not individuals. And so usually if we're working, we're behind the scenes. You don't even know we're there. The only time you see us is when COVID like that, or like your restaurant got shut down because you got, is roaches in there. That's when you see us. Otherwise, we over here. But we have been historically underfunded, historically understaffed. The industry is predominantly white. I hear it is shifting and older. And so you have a system, again, that sort of is ill-equipped to do the work already. And then you have an administration that's like, yeah, we're going to fire a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of skilled professionals in this field across a whole bunch of agencies, right? Then we're going to take your research funding away. We're going to take your HRV funding away. And so you're literally putting the public health institution across the board in this country in shambles. It's like we literally were already doing a whole lot with a little bit, but now it's like we have literally nothing and are trying to make things work. And I'm talking federal, state, county, local public health systems. We do such huge work and important work that we can't afford to not be funded well. We cannot afford to be understaffed. If we have another pandemic, and I said if, but the reality is when we have another pandemic, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What? What we going to do? Who going to give the vaccines?
Yeah. And we just had that incident happen with the helicopter that went down near DC, and they were like, oh, well, we don't have whatever the federal regulation person is for air, and they didn't have somebody in that space. That is what's happening right now, especially when you see the healthcare researchers losing their jobs, the healthcare workers losing their jobs. And give us a little perspective to this big ugly bill that came out. How does it truly affect, is it Medicaid or Medicare? Maybe if you have a little perspective on that, please help us out, because I don't think people realize how serious this is.
This is big. And I'm not an expert. I will say I'm not an expert on Medi-Cal or Medicaid and Medicare. In California, it's called Medi-Cal. That's why I said Medi-Cal. But I'm not a huge expert, but I will say that folks that are on Medicaid and Medicare are typically our most vulnerable, right? They cannot afford health insurance. They maybe have employment issues or whatever. They're disabled. And so if you take their access to healthcare away, what happens is they end up seeking care when they're sicker. So they go into the emergency room, and the emergency rooms are quite expensive, or they forego treatment altogether. I know hospitals also receive that kind of federal funding, Medicaid, Medicare dollars. So then what happens if that hospital doesn't, or that healthcare system doesn't get that funding? They will have to start to shut down or reduce services. So even if you do have insurance, and that's what I always tell people, even if you do have insurance, it don't really matter, because if that hospital is understaffed, oh, sorry, we had to close the XYZ early because we don't have any staff. It don't matter if you have insurance, because if you can't get seen, ain't nobody to help you. Yeah, you might as well not have it. So I think that's what people need to understand. And I think because, again, all this stuff happens behind the scenes and you necessarily don't see it, you don't get it, but it's like you have to understand, because these things will affect you whether you are insured or not. You might have the best PPO. Oh, yeah. If you need hospital care in an emergency and that hospital had to shut their stuff down or close because they didn't have funding, you still will be in a bad situation.
That's right. That's right.
So that's the stuff that we really need to be thinking about. And we need to be really, really focused on, like I said, we need to think about the most minoritized, marginalized people in our population and center their needs. So we always tend to push them out. We need to think about and bring their needs centered and forward, so that if we take care of them, everybody gets taken care of, period.
And that's powerful right there, because a lot of people, especially a lot of these DEI changes, are already feeling those effects. And it hurts in a lot of ways, because literally you're saying, we're going to take all of this off the table from you, but we're not putting anything back on the table. So the thing I want to ask, especially as you look at students going back to schools, no cultural center, no DEI scholarships, and the people that were hired to do a lot of that diversity work, they're gone. What do you tell the students right now who are going back to school, and what solutions possibly do you have to help them cope with what's going on?
Yeah, and that's a hard one, because I went to a predominantly white institution, as I mentioned, and I already felt, and even though it's in Los Angeles and I'm from Los Angeles, I already felt out of place already when I walked on campus.
Yeah.
So how, like you said, how do you help that person feel included or part of a community when the Black Cultural Center is not there, when the staff, I really don't know. And again, the only thing I can think of is y'all gonna have to get together on your own and sit up in that dorm room together and have your own stuff, because they can't tell you, they can't stop you from doing that. Folks are gonna have to organize on their own, and that requires a lot of time and effort. But it can be done. Hopefully there are nonprofits nearby or other organizations in the community near whatever school these students are going to, where they can maybe even kind of diverge themselves there. I don't know. But it's really going to be a time for us where we're going to have to get back to where we came from in regards to creating our own and building our own and taking care of ourselves.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. And we have joining us the legend, Dr. Jeremiah Sims. Dr. Sims, how are you today, sir? Yeah, can't hear you. Yeah.
We see you though.
Yeah, we see you. No worries, no worries. And so, Dr. Vic, when we're looking at the big picture of this gentleman in the White House, what do we do as far as talking with our community members? What do we tell those community members about what's happening?
Pray and drink your water. That's what we're going to do.
That's right.
That's it. And mind your business. I mean, and lay low. I mean, it's all of that, all of the above. Vote, drink your water, pray, mind your business, lay low. Because it's like it's a lot coming at us at one time. It's kind of like you just gotta lay low. Literally, I'm from South LA. When you hear gunshots, you hit the ground. So that's what we gonna have to do. Lay low, okay? but also pray. And when you can, you need to vote and be thinking, when you vote, thinking about the people that are minoritized and marginalized, and vote for their interests. Think about those. That's what I think you got to do.
Good. Yes, good. Dr. Sims, I think we got you there, sir. I think we got you. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you fine. Hear you fine.
I thought I was on from 5 to 6 at Eastern time, so I was doing the calculation. So I apologize for being late. I missed.
No, you're all good. We still got about a good half of the show left, so you're right on time, sir. You're right on time.
Thank you
so,
for holding
bro.
Nicole. I was just sitting here. I thought my time wasn't up yet. So that's my bad.
You're all good. You're all good. So tell the folks a little about yourself, where you're from, where you got your doctorate degree, and what your dissertation research was in, and what you're doing now.
Okay, so my name is Jeremiah Sims, and I, as the folks say, I resonate with Dr. Nicole. I'm from Richmond, California, so I know what to do when gunshots ring out. Also, born in Oakland, spent some time in Deep East Oakland, and then moved to Richmond, California. So it was more the same, just a different kind of regional dialect. Same words, different dialect. So I went to school at the University of California, Berkeley. So I was a transfer student. It took me about 9 years to transfer because of the exigency of my situation. When you grow up in what's called a fence line community, a fence line community is a community that is separated by actually a chain link fence and some type of gross polluter, right? So where I lived in the Iron Triangle in Richmond is all Chevron. Chevron is just all around us, right? And so we all had upper respiratory issues and asthma, and as a result of that, right, there's always a lower life expectancy, premature death. Also lived in a food desert. But then you end up missing, if you make it through, you end up missing a bunch of days of school, right? And so then there's a level of learning loss that happens as a result of that because you're sick, right? And so all fence line communities are situated in places that are called sacrifice zones. That's where EPA strictures have been lifted so that business will stay there as opposed to going overseas to feed this kind of racialized capitalistic monster that controls the United States. And so actually Heather McGee talks about this a great deal in her book, The Sum of Us. So if y'all haven't checked that book out, she actually talks about Richmond specifically. So does Richard Rothstein in The Color of Money. And so anyway, in those particular, that's the community that I come from. I remember in Richmond I'm 49 now, I'm getting up there, but when I was in high school in the early 90s, we had like the highest murder rate per capita in the whole United States, something like that. Top 3. I mean, we and this is nothing to brag about, but we beat out like Gary, Indiana, right? So when you're doing that, it's wild. Right?
It's a lot, yeah.
Right. When you talk about the town of 90,000 people, obviously, so it's per capita, right? But it was just, I remember one week, 25 people got shot 1 week in like it was like a 3-block radius. Not everyone died, but it was just like, it was nuts. So navigating that space, it comports you a very particular way, right? So I picked up on these kind of traits, not just traits, but it was like this embodied toxic masculinity, right? So I had a view of the world that was problematic, to say the least, and at the same time I had an influence because my mother was on the fringes of the Black Panther Party for self-defense, right? So there's a picture of me floating around somewhere with a pleather jacket on in Dr. Huey P. Newton's class, right, when he was teaching at Barrett College. I can't find that picture. I wish I could. But it's not digital, right? It's an actual picture, so I don't know where it is. It exists though. And so anyway, so I had this kind of political positionality, but at the same time, I was mad at the world, right? And there was some cause for that. So anyway, I went to community college. I didn't plan on going to community college, and I'll speed this up. I didn't plan on going to community college, but I had a teacher, and I didn't get to thank her before she passed, right? Thank the people that are in your life that make a difference now, right? And so she was a white woman. I wrote about this in my first book. She's a white woman who she didn't need the money. She was teaching because she didn't have any children of her own, but she had a lot of love in her heart. And she did something that was revolutionary for me. So, I was in gifted and talented classes up until like middle school, but I didn't go, right? Because sometimes those classes were outside of school. You could barely get me to come to school. You think I'm gonna stay after school to go talk about what wasn't happening? And I was the only Black male in the gifted and talented classes too, right? So I already felt alienating. And so anyway, long story short, I was always in trouble in her class because I was always running my mouth because I didn't know that then. What I know now is that, the humor that kind of emanated from my body was a defense mechanism because I didn't want to face the realities of, what I was struggling through. And so she gave me the last 7 minutes every Friday to do stand-up in our class. And that's the first time in my life that I felt like my voice mattered in a classroom space, right? This is not until 12th grade. And so anyway, what I realized is that I was not built to be a stand-up comedian.
I learned that at a young age.
So I let that dream go. But anyway, because of my relationship with her, right? That's why the saying goes, students don't care about what you know until they know that you care. She urged me to take the SAT. And I was like, I don't even know what that is, right? Like nobody in my community was going to college. I don't know what the SAT is. I didn't at that time know what the acronym stood for, right? I don't even know if I'm totally sure now. It's Standardized Achievement Test, right? But anyway, so I took it. I took it because of the concern that she had shown in me. And so, I had to go to folks in the Bay Area. I had to go to Berkeley High early in the morning, take the test. And y'all know, y'all are learned folks. You don't have to be a learned person, but anyone who's taking the test, it's 50-50. If you finish way before everybody else, that could be good. It could also be really, really bad. Right? And so I was done. Docs. I looked around. Everybody else was still, I'm like, well, either I got it all right or I didn't, right? So I did about as well as I expected on math, which was okay. I was not a mathematician. But the crazy thing is I took it and I forgot about it. I probably went home and went back to sleep. Then a couple months later, I got the results back. And my essay, this is back when it was out of 800, right? I got 790 on the language part. Right?
Wow.
So I missed one. And so that's partially due to my mom, because every time I got in trouble, she would make me read the dictionary, and I got in trouble quite a bit. Right? And so anyhow, I always held that in my back pocket. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna be when I grow up, but maybe I'll be, you from the hood. Like maybe I'll just be an English teacher just because of this one thing. I thought I could probably be an English teacher, right? So I kind of held to that. So long story short, when I decided to go back to school, I wanted to be an English teacher. And so, but I kept going back and forth. I kept vacillating because I had to work. And when you are low income, right, you don't have the luxury of always being able to plan your future well in advance because of the exigency of situation. I need to have food, and I need to attend to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
Yeah.
Food, shelter, safety, all those things are important. Long story short, I went through community college. I kept dropping out, going back. There was all kind of crazy stuff in. I was done. I wasn't going back. My younger brother told me about a program called Academic Renewal, where if you've been out for a year, you can take 15 consecutive units with a C average or better, and D's and F's no longer count against your transferable GPA. That's the only reason I went back to school. Wow. Also, I was interested in this young woman, and her father was from Hong Kong, and he said, if you want to marry my daughter, you have to go to college, right? So this is talking to somebody who had a 1.1 GPA, and he said, even more than that, if you want to marry my daughter, you have to go to UC Berkeley. Now, you got to understand, UC Berkeley is #1 public college in the world, right? It's at this time top 3 in the world, public or private or anything else. I'm like, how am I supposed to get there with my 1.13 GPA? And so, the saying goes, love will make you do crazy things. And so I got there, I majored in rhetoric, and then I knocked that out. I had like a 3.94 GPA. And then I got accepted into a program. I earned a master's degree and a PhD, language, literacy, and culture. And that's all at the University of California, Berkeley. And so that's where I did my education.
Absolutely phenomenal. We appreciate you for jumping on with us. And we've already started to have a great conversation about DEI. I don't know if you were able to see the memo that just went out yesterday.
You sent it.
Okay. And Dr. Vick has provided her thoughts. Kind of tell me your thoughts as no more cultural centers, no more DEI scholarships, no more, all these things that were benefit to a lot of us. Yeah. What are your thoughts on what is happening and where we're at right now when it comes in terms of DEI?
So I'll be completely honest with you both. It's conflictual for me, and there's a reason for that, right? So DEI is birthed out of the kind of civil rights movement, right? There's a reason that we have, Title IX, Title IV, these types of things is because of the work that was done by our ancestors, during this civil rights, the civil rights movement in 1964, right? That was a culmination of so many years of resistance from Black people and other minoritized folks. But the people who benefited most from that, y'all know who benefited most from civil rights legislature?
Yep.
It's white women, right? The glass ceiling for white women was identified, and then we started to chip away at the glass ceiling, and they still face issues based on androcentrism and misogyny, right? Cis heteropatriarchy. We know those things to be true. Yeah. But the reality is, right, That's what, in critical race theory, they talk about interest convergence, right? We can always get down with the civil rights movement, some of us, because we know, right, that there's a latent benefit for us, right? And we'll let these other people be the face of it, and these other people face martyrdom, right? And I'm not saying that this is, kind of mechanistically pre-programmed. I'm also not saying that it wasn't, right? All I'm saying is that, I'm a former director of equity. I did that for, in 2 different community college districts for almost a decade. And what I've seen is DEI has been transmogrified, right? And so transmogrified means to take something from a state, its normal state, and to make it grotesque or even overtly humorous. Like something has happened. DEI, the way that we operationalize it now, is not what it was intended to be, based on the work of folks like, Brother Malcolm X, James Baldwin, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, right? All these, like Fannie Lou Hamer, all these folks who are doing this work to get us to this point, and it's become something else. So I will say, right, that this current administration is is embodied white supremacy, right? And what they're trying to do is erase the existence of non-cis het land-owning white males. That's what it's trying to do, right? Yeah. And so we are always on the front line because our humanity has always been tangential, right? If they can make money with us, because a capitalist will sell you the rope to hang them with, right? If they can make money with us, then we matter. But our actual personhood never actually matters. Mm-hmm. I don't see DEI fundamentally shifting that. The 70% of 75%, almost 80%, is almost 80%. I want to say 82%, but we can fact check that later, right? Of folks who held DEI positions in corporate America were white people. Mm-hmm. So is DEI really for us, right? Nope. And so that therein for me lies the rub. Things are being taken away, right? But those things were never fully. And I'm not saying that there wasn't value there, but those things were never fully resourced anyway. It was always grasping at the crumbs that was falling off the master's table. We have programs, Umoja programs that are incredible at community college level that serve Black students and other students, but they serve 30 students, right? And I'm not being dismissive of those, but they've earned the moniker of boutique programs. Yeah. So this work has always been contained. And see, DEI is birthed out of kind of HR organizations where it's a container. So if you have a container, right, like I need to know what to do with this potential liability. I need to know what to do with the complaints of people who are still being victimized by a system that was built on the misrecognition of their personhood and the theft of their labor, right, without proper compensation. And so all of these, like all that stuff is junk, right? It was what we would call junk science, right? The whole structure was problematic from the gate. Now, then I shut up so Dr. Nicole can chime in. But now, right, the kind of it's like what Charles Blow talked about. I don't know if y'all read the book The Devil We Know, right? He talked about like what we saw in 2020 and 2021 was just a giant cosplay of white guilt, right? All the protests, right? DEI in some ways, I don't want to be reductive, right? But DEI in some ways replicates that, right? It is a way that it actually, there is some substantive change, right? Sometimes, but I feel like that's almost happenstantial. The work is to be able to say that we're doing a thing and then check a box, right? It's something that could be transformative that has been transmogrified into that which is transactional now. So I don't want to go too long. I want to make sure I make space for y'all to speak as well.
Hey, we appreciate the thoughts because a few things there, Dr. Vic had really jumped into herself, and it is those things to where we're trying to figure out what is it, how did it become what it become, and how did it just turn into throw Black everything away when we didn't, like you said, we didn't even know this was for us anyway. Like we didn't really know.
Yeah.
And so, Dr. Vic, as you're thinking about the thoughts that Dr. Sims has given, kind of tell me your thoughts.
Well, one of the things before I landed on the dissertation topic that I did, one of the things I wanted to talk about or study initially was, what? We do all this these diversity trainings and anti-Black racism trainings at work. And we try to get off everybody kumbaya. but why don't they actually do what they do? So I was already like looking at that, and I remember finding research by Dobbins and Caleb that was like, this shit don't work. And I'm like, well, no wonder. And to your point, Dr. Sims, it became an HR thing. We trained 100% of the workforce on this, whatever this thing, we're good. But nobody's following up with the staff. Nobody's like, are y'all okay? So it just became just a performative thing. And I'm like, well, that's why this is like a mess. And then when I started to learn that a lot of times these equity offices and these corporations don't even have a straight line to the director of the dang on company. Like, so you put this person over here, they don't have no power, they don't have no resources, they don't have anything. So how is something supposed to be happening? So I even just started to dig into those types of things. And I was like, shoot, I should have had started me a little LLC and started doing diversity trainings. I would have made a lot of money, but what would I, like for what? You can go for an hour, talk to the workforce, and everybody feels good for a minute, and then nothing else happens. So then how are we creating culture shift and culture change when we're not doing the work? And I think that's the other side of what happened too. Like, it just wasn't working.
No. So you know what happens? So I've been doing this a lot for a long time, and I have been a consultant in race, equity, inclusion, and justice. And so oftentimes my focus is to help people understand, if I'm going to come alongside your institution, it can't just be a one-off conversation, because that's what happens. That's what professional development has been. Because again, everything is about compliance. When you're talking about educational spaces, it's about compliance, right? So can I check the box? I did the thing. In order to be on a hiring committee, right, I need to spend 3 hours learning about implicit bias. So I did that thing. I don't remember any of it, but I did it. So now I can do this thing, and I can inform whether or not our faculty body is diverse, right? Based, and so here's the thing, right? So in working with folks, what I've seen happen more often than not, because you got to understand, I'm not saying this like y'all don't, right? That the vast majority of educators, I'm talking about specifically kind of educational milieu, the vast majority of educators are folks who are racialized as white, right? This is a side conversation we have another day. There's no such thing as white people. There are people who are racialized as white, right? And so what happens is, and I've seen this, if I had a nickel for every time I see it, I don't know, I might have $5, who knows? But there's so often that I will see one of my sisters who's racialized as white, who will be just impassioned about justice based on the conversation. Maybe we're lucky enough to have Dr. John Turner talk to us about equity at our college, and now we're on fire. And you know what happens with that fire? It becomes an unmitigated disaster, because it's an inferno, and it burns up everything in its sight, right? It'll burn up the work of people like Dr. Vick. It'll burn up the work of primarily Black women, right? Black and brown women who have been laboring to ensure that students are receiving the resources that they need. Because I get it. I finally get it. But what's at the heart of it for many folks, and this happens at a non-conscious level, is that they're trying to assuage their white guilt because they've been alerted by it, right? And I'm not being dismissive of all these efforts, right? But I've seen this so often. And these are the conversations I have with fact. Let's take a step back. Okay, I understand that you now want to, because see, justice work, right? Equity is just like the first step towards justice. It's not the end, right? Justice work is a series of controlled, interconnected burns. It's not an inferno, because the inferno is uncontrollable by definition. It burns down everything. And that's what happens with these folks. They're like, I'm an equity practitioner now. And then they go through a class. I work with a college where they actually give physical badges that you can put on a sash, right? I went through this thing, and now I have a badge on my sash, like a Girl Scout, right? And so these are equity badges, right? And then people come back with this badge, whether or not it's on LinkedIn, right? It's a virtual badge or a physical badge, and now they know everything, right? And then they're destroying the work that they should be building upon and be in concert with. Now they're doing something different. So now they whitewash the work. And I'm not saying that, the enemy is white people. That's not my point. My point is, so often, right? I have a really close friend, a mentor of mine, Lasana Hotep, and he said, we all have teeth, but we're not all dentists. Right. And so that's what happens. As soon as they recognize that there's some inequity, then they're going to fix it. And this is this kind of salvific, messianic positionality that oftentimes educators who are racialized as white take, especially when you're talking about our students. And so that's why it has left a sour taste in my mouth, because diversity, equity, and inclusion is not really about justice. See, justice is different. Justice means that irrespective of whether or not a problematic policy impacts me, I'm still willing to eradicate it because it negatively impacts anyone, right? Equity is about, identifying the issues, right? You can almost do equity just by subscribing to the golden rule. Treat others as the way that you want to be treated. You're flirting with the line of equity right there, but justice requires something altogether different. And that's why DEI was in favor in these liberal spaces where justice, people don't want to talk about justice. We want to talk about redistribution of wealth. You want to talk about how I got my position, right? I remember earlier in the doc chat, Dr. Harold Lee was like, well, I don't have to have a PhD to be in the position I'm in because other people have BAs. Oh, yes, you do, brother. Right? Yeah. Because of the parents that you were born to, you better have a PhD to even be in part of that conversation. People don't like to talk about that, right? And so if we want to talk about justice, right, then it's a wholly different conversation. And so to me, that's why DEI has just been kind of like a shell. I just wrote an article on Substack. Y'all can check it out when you get a chance. It's a short article, but it's like, just let them have the letters. You can still do the work. But the people who are fighting about the letters, it's not us. It's the people who are receiving the most benefit from it. Check and see who's writing these articles about DEI letters, right? Like who gets to take away our work? It's because other people have also been positively impacted by it, right? Yeah. Even if it's not necessarily something that you can chart on a line item, but just they can feel better about themselves. Don't take that thing away from me. It's like a drug, right? And so we have to be very, very kind of prescient, right? We have to be very circumspect about folks who don't acknowledge the benefit they receive from a thing while pleading for its existence in the name of someone else. To me, that's always problematic.
Indeed.
Yeah.
We have Dr. Jeremiah Sims, we have Dr. Nicole Vick, and I'm telling you, they bring it a fire right now because this DEI stuff is a trip, and I just don't understand how it got so wild the way that it did, but I just appreciate them breaking it down in a way that they have been. So, Dr. Vick, as we look to kind of wrap up here, let folks know where they can find you and give me your final thoughts on what we should do moving forward with all that has happened in the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
I think that, again, we need to center the margins. We need to center the marginalized and minoritized people in our communities. What are their needs? And when we fix their needs, everybody benefits. One of the things I wanted to share really quickly is in my research, one of the participants said something really smart. She said, and this kind of speaks to what you were talking about, Dr. Sims, like these folks and I work in public health. So these folks in these public health spaces, they understand the language. They know the words to use: equity, inclusion, diversity. But what happens is they'll speak the language to kind of appear to be, oh, no, we're for the people. But the default goes all the way back, right back to that white supremacy culture practice. There's always an endpoint. You're asking for too much. And so what happens in public health, that's very dangerous because public health is supposed to be for everybody, right? We're supposed to be making sure all of our communities are healthy and safe. And so it not only harms the workforce, the people that are working with these folks, it harms the greater community. And so we have a really, really scary situation where we have folks that are supposed to be about it and they really not. So I'll say that. And then, like I said, if we have to be intentional about centering the margins. I don't know that they talked about that in my doctoral program, and I just latched onto it. Like, why do we always push the margins out? Why do we always put them people over there when they need to be front and center? And why aren't we focusing on them? So that's that. And then I'll say I have a website, www.nicoledvick.com. Everything is there: podcasts, books, all the things. Even when I've been a guest on other podcasts, I think I have yours on my website too, where people can access it. That's the best place to find me. LinkedIn as well. So I think that's it.
Yeah, we love that. That's Dr. Nicole D. Vick. Make sure you check her out.
There, please.
And we appreciate you so very much. And Dr. Jeremiah Sims, let folks know where they can find you. Give me final thoughts or final words on all things DEI.
Okay. So just in the end, right, I want to be very clear about the distinction that I'm making, right? So I'm for justice-centered diversity, justice-centered equity, justice-centered inclusion, radical inclusion. I want inclusion that's so radical it doesn't matter who you are or what you believe, but your humanity and the radical dignity that every human being deserves is not just recognized, but it's also valued and affirmed. I'm all for that. What I'm not for is cosplay. I'm not for justice cosplay. And I think that's what Dr. Vick is speaking to. That's what Dr. Turner is speaking to. That's what I'm identifying, right? And I saw one of the comments just popped up. Like, it It was never really for us, right? And so that it is. So this is the thing. I'll take a side real quick and I'll come back. The thing that drives me so crazy about the vitriol from the left with regard to Trump, by all accounts, a despicable human being, right? Anti-Black, despicable human being, right? We don't have to debate that, right? But the reason why some people are so adamantly opposed to him, i.e., my liberal white sisters, right, and liberal white brothers, is because he's making them feel like what it feels like to be a person of color, and they are not recognizing that that's where the animus is coming from, right? And so, because one of the things that people have to do in this space, if they're going to be people who are equity advancing, especially folks who are racialized as white, is they have to acknowledge first that I'm the beneficiary of a system that's penalizing other people, that's taking the privilege that I receive off of their backs, right? And be clear, this is the system that I want to destroy, which is also going to impact me. That's why I say justice is different than equity, right? So I'm saying all this to say, right, that I don't want to play that game, right? That's a no-win game for us. So we need to figure out how to do the work. Let them have the letters. It's a corpse anyway. DEI, the way that it was formerly operationalized as an HR container, it's a corpse. Let them have the corpse. They can go have their ceremonial sacrifice of that corpse. We still have to figure out, this is what Dr. Vick is saying, we still have to figure out how to do the work, right? So how do you, here's the thing, Dr. Vick, and I know you're saying this, right, but I just want to elaborate on it. There's no way to centralize marginalized people, even hyper-marginalized people, without decentering whiteness, right? So that work has to be coterminous. We have to figure out how that happens simultaneously. That's the work, right? So we try to build all these different spaces around this volcano, right, of white body supremacy, right? Eventually when it explodes, it destroys everything anyway. So we got to get that out of the way so that these communities can thrive. And that has to be the work moving forward. I don't care what you call it. That has to be the work moving forward. It doesn't mean there's a difference between whiteness as a system that is birthed out of white supremacy and racialized capitalism and people who are racialized as white. There's actually no white people, right? There are people who may have Scandinavian or Caucasian, whatever their ancestry is. They're not actually white. Whiteness is a political categorization, right? And so once we understand that, we can begin to do the work of decentering whiteness. And it has to happen. It has to happen with policy. It has to happen with pedagogy. It has to happen with practices, right? I don't mean to be too alliterative, but anyway, you can reach me on LinkedIn, jeremiahjsims.com. I have a new book coming out. It's a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. It was really cathartic for me to write this book. It's called, what is it called? It is.
We got you here.
Finding the Beautiful Path. There you go. This is my first book, right? Finding the Beautiful Path on Blackness, multidimensionality, and radical becoming. So I want y'all to check that out when you get a chance. A lot of the things that I'm talking about now are in that book.
And let me make sure I get it pulled up for folks here, because we were so happy to see all the books that came from our Doc Chat authors, and it's right here in this right-hand corner. So we appreciate you, because it is definitely going to be a landmark book, and we want folks to go get it. So thank you, Dr. Jeremiah Sims, so much.
Pleasure.
We appreciate you so very much. We do have a couple more minutes, and I want to make sure, Dr. Vick, any final words that you want to say? And once again, just thank you so much for being on this incredible conversation as we had a full DOCTORTHON today.
Yeah, well, I also just, first of all, I want to say thank you, Dr. Turner. This has been great. You always come up with some great stuff, and I'm like, a DOCTORTHON? Like, what? This is amazing. So thank you for that. And, I don't know. I just worry a lot about our future in general as a people. And I think that we have the capacity to do great and beautiful things. And we just got to get ourselves back to a place where we are more connected. I'm not going to say we're not, because I think that's a lie. People, we all acting. No, we are in a lot of ways connected. I think we need to strengthen those connections so that we can do great things. I mean, Dr. Sims has written a book that sounds amazing. How do we leverage all of the thought and the brain power so that we can build our own and thrive? That's kind of, I think, my final thought, really, because I think we have the capacity to do it. I'm still very hopeful and positive person, despite all the things that I know that are happening that are impacting a lot of people in a very, very real way. I still think that we can do it and we can succeed and thrive. So the question is, how do we get there? So I think that's my last thought.
And one quick word I forgot, man, joy. Listen, Black joy is a form of resistance. Do you understand that? Everything that has, like, all these weapons formed against us, they won't prosper, but they were designed to steal our joy. And that's how capitalism works. Capitalism, right, specifically racialized capitalism, it steals our joy, repackages, commoditizes it, and then sells it back to us at a premium, right? We can't let it do that anymore. Black joy, right? Not naive joy, right? But real joy, because we're connected, because we're moving forward. That's going to shift not just this conversation, that's going to shift our future trajectory.
Indeed, indeed. And any final thoughts you have, Dr. Sims? Any other final thoughts?
I appreciate y'all showing up. I appreciate this community. You know, I had a PhD a long time ago, right? But it's still good to be in this space and be able to converse with folks, because I miss it. I'm in a different part of California now, so just to see your beautiful melanated faces does so much to me. I don't know if y'all ever will realize what it's like to be in this space. So I appreciate y'all, each and every one of you.
Well, we appreciate you. As we're wrapping up, Dr. Thon, we want folks to realize this is the Doc Chat, a network of nearly 200 doctors, primarily Black and brown doctors from across the country, across the world. We've had doctors that have connected with us from London, from Australia, because as Dr. Sims said, we're looking for that community. There are doctors that get done with their doctorate degree and they're just kind of left out there. Like, what is next? What do we do? And so we wanted to create a space, not just for us to come together, but to be able to share our voice. From the conversations we had today on DEI and imposter syndrome and selling your books and brands and looking at different aspects of the dark side of the doctorate degree and looking at the education where it is right now versus Trump. We had these powerful conversations today to let people know the voice of the doctor is going to be heard, should be heard, and there's nobody that's doing it better than these doctors in the Doc Chat. So thank you, everybody that's tuned in today. I'm telling you, we had 6 hours of conversation. We had over 15 different doctors, and I'm telling you, already I've looked at the views just on LinkedIn alone. From 6 hours of these conversations, we are over 1,000 views. Wow. And I'm telling you, those were live views, people that looked out and said, I want to make sure on Thursday, July 31st, I'm going to tune into Dr. Thon and see what these doctors are talking about. And we can't thank everybody enough for doing so. All of these episodes are on my LinkedIn page and on my YouTube page under Dr. John C. Turner. So you could share them, you can clip them up, show them around the world, folks, because I'm telling you, we had conversations that nobody is having. Nobody. And we let people chime in on the conversations today. So all the people in the chat, we thank y'all so very much. And I'm telling y'all, and I try to tell folks this all the time, I do my Doc Chat episodes after football season. And this is happening before football season because in about 2 hours, the very first football game is coming on for the season. So we'll see y'all next spring because we come on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. What else comes on Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern in the fall? Football. Y'all not going to watch us. So that's why we do this. When we do it, we're strategic with it, and it has been powerful. Absolutely powerful.
I just real quick, I want to shout out Dr. Turner. In true Black tradition, has several different outfit changes. You know, that comes all the way back from African wedding ceremony, right, where a bride may have 6, 7 different changes. So I appreciate, because I tuned in earlier. It was a totally different suit earlier. So
that's right. That's right. Hey, let the folks know we looking fashionable, we in style, and we have fun. When you get your doctorate degree, you can still live your life. You don't have to be all stuck up and snood and all these different types of things. You can still live your life. And I'm telling you, these doctors are the most phenomenal people ever I have met. And I thank God for the community. What started about 2.5 years ago with one episode truly has touched the world, and we're going to continue with it. So on that note, thank you all so very much. We appreciate you all. Like I said, you can check out these episodes under my LinkedIn and YouTube page. And if you want to do more of this, folks, I'm telling you, go ahead and tap me because I'm telling you, these conversations need to happen. And these are the best doctors in the world having them. Until next time, thank you, Dr. Thon. Thank you from the Doc Chat. And we'll say peace out.
All right, bye.